What's up, guys? Today we are going to be predicting the rest of the UFC pay-per-views up until the end of the year, the rest of 2025, because, there's a lot of big fights that have to happen this year. I think the second half of the year is going to have a lot of excitement. I think we're seeing a lot of bigger stars, a lot of bigger fights open up at the end of the year. So let's get into it, guys. Now, here's the first thing we have to address, right? 5 pay-per-views, and, if you guys are, really following the UFC, you might be surprised about this number. Why is there 5? Initially, there was going to be 5. 1 in September, 2 in October, 1 in November, 1 in December. However, the September pay-per-view got canceled after UFC Noche had to be moved. So that means after August 16th, the next pay-per-view is going to be October 4th, which is Las Vegas, Nevada, which was announced recently. I'm telling you guys, the UFC is planning to have a pay-per-view, right? And I have it listed for December 6th. Now, the UFC are actually trying to right now make 3 pay-per-views in October. I believe the date that they're trying to pick is October 11th because currently on the UFC schedule, there is no fight night scheduled. There is nothing there. So it would be October 4th. The next week, another pay-per-view, a fight night in Vancouver, and then the Abu Dhabi pay-per-view. However, the UFC, I think, are struggling to find a venue because, I've done research myself. Salt Lake City, the Delta Center, the arena that they usually go to, that is booked. The Toyota Center is booked. A whole bunch of other arenas are booked. And I'm going to get into where I think they should go on December 6th. And I think it just makes more sense, timing-wise, just 2 pay-per-views in December. All right, so let's get started. What is going to main event UFC 320 on October 4th? This is going to be taking place at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. I think the main event is going to be Alex Pereira and Magomed Ankalaev. Now, this fight, the original fight, took place in March in the same place in Las Vegas, so I think that also makes sense. There's definitely going to be people that went to the first fight that are also going to be going to the second fight, just given that it's the same location. And Alex Pereira, I think he's beyond fighting a co-main event. I know that he's not the champion anymore. I know Magomed Ankalaev is the champion here, but I still don't think this is going to be a co-main event. I think Pereira is a bigger name. Come on. I think you'd just be doing him a disservice. Who would be the main event over him at this point? Next up, UFC 321, October 25th in Abu Dhabi. Right now, there might be a pay-per-view before this, which we'll get into. Like I said, I don't know if that'll wind up happening. It does seem like a very short window. Maybe they just don't do another pay-per-view, but keep in mind, I'm sure ESPN wants a certain amount of pay-per-views, so that might be the problem here. But guys, I think the main event is going to be one of my most anticipated fights for this year, which is Jack Della Maddalena versus Islam Makhachev. Now, Islam Makhachev announced that he was going to move up to 170 pounds, and a lot of people were upset because I wanted him to fight Ilia Topuria. Us Jacks got to stick together, so I am going to be rooting for my man Jack Della Maddalena. Let's see how far he can go. But in all seriousness, I like this fight a lot. I have been saying for a long time, I want to see Islam at 170 pounds. I always wanted to see Khabib at 170 pounds. We never got to see it, and I was always doubtful if we'd ever see Islam fight at 170, but here we are, and it isn't against the guy that I initially would have thought I would have been excited about, but after Jack Della Maddalena, I thought looked very good against Bilal. I feel like he could beat Islam. The size is there, and I think Islam's chin, I think we've seen, isn't, the best. I know I'm not just saying that from that one knockout, but I think there's definitely maybe some holes that a bigger guy could definitely exploit in Islam Makhachev's game, and I'm curious to see. I think this is a very even fight. I think it's going to be surprisingly close, and I think it makes sense. Go to Abu Dhabi. I'm not sure, how far, I think it's probably closer to Australia than America is, so maybe Jack Della Maddalena would enjoy fighting a little bit closer, not having to deal with a long plane ride. Islam Makhachev would be a fan favorite. I think it just makes the most sense. This is a massive fight to put in Abu Dhabi. And I know Islam wants to fight in New York City. I know Dana White did say that's a fight that could potentially headline New York City, guys. I don't think so. I feel like it makes more sense in Abu Dhabi. And given the trends of the UFC's past, I'm going based on their trends. I think the main event of New York this year, guys, of the New York card is going to be Ilia Topuria versus Paddy Pimblett. I know a lot of people are probably going to be like, what? Am I chatting? Am I going crazy here? Now, I'm not so confident on the opponent, right? It could be Justin Gaethje. I just saw Justin Gaethje actually say that he wants to knock out Ilia Topuria in Madison Square Garden. So to me, I feel like that is signs that maybe there's talks of Justin Gaethje. Hey, could you fight at Madison Square Garden potentially? We're just putting out feelers, maybe. Because with the UFC, what they usually do when they have a big superstar, they like to take them to New York City. That is one of their, vital steps. They did it to Conor McGregor. They did it to Israel Adesanya. They did it to Alex Pereira. And it makes sense to do this with Ilia Topuria. He's just coming off of International Fight Week. The next step is Madison Square Garden, getting a big knockout at one of the most famous arenas out there and in one of the best cities in the world. I think this is the next move for Ilia Topuria. And let's talk about the opponent, Paddy Pimblett. I think this is the biggest fight you could do. Think about it. Paddy Pimblett versus Ilia Topuria, Madison Square Garden. This is going to drum up, I think, a lot of hype. Paddy Pimblett talks a lot of shit. This is going to drum up a lot of casual viewers. A lot of people are going to be talking talking about this fight. I guarantee you, I think this is the move. I mean, does Paddy deserve a title shot? No, but neither does Justin Gaethje. If anybody deserves a title shot, it is Arman Tsarukyan, but we know he's not getting a title shot. He missed weight, it seems like, or was injured. We don't really know. So I think Paddy Pimblett, Ilia Topuria, given the history, given how big the fight is given, I think Paddy Pimblett would also be a big deal in New York. The winner of this becomes an even bigger superstar, and I think it would be Ilia Topuria, but we'll see. That's my prediction. I think this is a part that a lot of you guys have been curious about. What is this UFC 323 December 6th? Now, this isn't an official date. This is me now getting really speculatory. I am saying, guys, what is available? I did some research. What arenas could be available for what possible dates? Like, what realistically could the UFC do? And I'm talking about the new heavyweight champion, Tom Aspinall, guys, and I did my research. The O2 Arena, guys, it is open for December 6th right now. According to their website, there is nothing booked. Obviously, maybe they have some stuff behind the scenes. So what if the UFC says, fuck it, and we're going to the O2 Arena in London, Tom Aspinall versus Cyril Gane main event, and, Tom, you've been such a great guy. You deserve to fight in your hometown. This is your moment. We're going to give you a big opportunity, a big stage, and Cyril Gane will be a big name there. Obviously, he has the French connection. This is going to be a big European fight. It would make sense, and part of me wondered, maybe should they have Paddy Pimblett versus Ilia Topuria in the main event, co-main event, Tom Aspinall, Cyril Gane. Maybe they would do that, but I think Tom Aspinall deserves a main event, and like I said, I think Ilia Topuria, given the trends of the past, I think potentially that, Ilia, I'm pretty confident he's going to fight at MSG. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong, though. Maybe they're going to do Islam versus Jack Della Maddalena. That fight would also make sense, but I would love to see this fight. This is the fight that's probably going to happen. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing Jailton Almeida versus Tom Aspinall. That's also a really fun fight, but I think this would be a good win for Tom Aspinall because I do think he would win this fight, and I do think Tom would get an early finish. I think this is going to be enough momentum for him. Maybe the fans are going to start really talking about John, and I can see John going on Twitter being even more bitter. UFC 327, they return to the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. Guys, I think it is going to be Kayla Harrison versus Amanda Nunes, just given on what's available. This fight is being treated by the company and by a lot of people as a super big fight. I know a lot of people are going to see this and think that I'm talking crazy. I'm going based on my own prediction, not what I think should be the main event. I know a lot of people are going to shit on this fight. However, I'm not so angry about this being a main event. I think this is a popular fight. I think Kayla Harrison has the potential to, go into that mainstream, and Amanda Nunes is one of the greatest fighters of all time, period. Female, male, just one of the greatest fighters of all time. And there's a lot of other fights that we didn't even talk about that are not here. I mean, Merab obviously has to fight someone. I'm assuming Corey Sandhagen. I think probably, if I had to guess, that's probably going to be the co-main event October 4th. There's also talks of Volkanovski versus Yair Rodriguez. That could potentially be the co-main event of Abu Dhabi. That would also make sense given, Jack Della Maddalena being Australian and also Volkanovski being Australian. Hopefully they do Volkanovski versus Evloev because that would make a lot of sense. The Australian versus Russian, I guess, rivalry there. And yeah, I mean, obviously this is all me guessing, but I feel like this is pretty close to what's going to happen. I could be completely wrong. Hopefully no main events or something get announced that completely just, blow this out of, irrelevancy. Let me know in the comment section below if you guys think I was right. How close am I? Check out my last video where I talked about the UFC having apparently a fight night in the White House lawn, guys. Unbelievable. You guys, the best fan-based MMA. Please hit the subscribe button, like, comment, and share, and I'll see you guys in the next one.